Hello and welcome to Tuesday Live. We're live in Abuja. Now, social media has remained an effective tool in penetrating active population on all handles of the new media, with undoubtedly a large platform to accommodate views and project interests of all political parties by supporters or influencers. The social media is undergoing a re-engineering process with the forecast of the general election come 2022. But how responsibly should the use of social media be? What is the role of government and key players in the digital space? How can they define the application and operation of these platforms to avoid offensive and derogatory language, material, and comments? Well, tonight on Tuesday Live, the panel of discussants will provide answers to these questions with deep thoughts on the call for regulation of the social media to reduce chances of rancor and disorder, which may mar the process if not properly handled. I am Jumbo Yusuf. I'm sitting for Sirius Toa. Before we go into the conversation proper, let's get to see this background report from our correspondent, Adebola Buxton Sunday.
Democracy is widely acknowledged as the best form of government in most parts of the world. Elections are the most universally accepted process through which individuals are chosen to represent the people in the system. Society is constantly evolving and nothing is ever static. This constant change is a feature of human nature and endeavors. The link, which used to be dominated by the traditional media to mediate and gatekeep information to the audience, is gradually being subdued by the new media. Change has come, and the social media is the new kid on the block, and it has radically democratized the public sphere, where anyone can start a political storm that could have a volcanic impact on society. This is what broadcast media regulator says it is keenly watching.
No platform should be allowed to be used to destroy this country. We are only broadcasting because there is Nigeria. When there is no Nigeria, they will not exist and will not operate. The profession should equally be protected. The regulator should be able to stand up for people that are doing the right thing.
Candidates should have issue-based campaign. Stop running the character of your opponent. Tell us what you want to do for us, what we can hold you on to after election.
The National Orientation Agency will do a good work. Let's have a proper view of what leadership entails, and let us know the costs of the wrong leadership. So even when people are campaigning and saying this is they will do, this will do, let's check their credibility.
In Nigeria, social media has become very potent as a weapon used by some politicians to stir up hatred rather than issues.
We are hoping and praying that we'll all be civil, play the games as indicated by INEC, given a lot of instructions and directives not to abuse, not to attack personal character and persons, but just to discuss politics and the agenda of the political parties.
We pray that Nigeria will have a free, fair, and credible election. And then, since we heard that they have signed electoral laws that will make the election more credible, that's what we pray for. And then we've continued campaigning. I glue my eyes to national TV. I watch NTA International, channel 251.
Knowing that social media has emerged as a pivotal battleground to mold public opinion and set agenda, observers say everyone must be sensitive to misinformation, hate, and fake news in the name of scoring some points, which may have the potential of offending opponents and even marring the entire process. Adebola Brooks Lane.
Thank you so much, Adebola, for that background. And we have in the studio to, shed more light on this topic and to discuss it further is Mr. Victor Aloko. He's the Director, Publicity and Voter Education, Independent National Electoral Commission. You're welcome to Tuesday Live.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We also have in the studio David Akuji, the Deputy Director and Head of Strategic Communication and SA to DG National Orientation Agency. Noah, you're welcome to Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Gentlemen, let's begin to understand the concept itself, the social media as a space, a virtual space where people can just come in, faceless people come in and make use of it positively or negatively. What is happening in Nigeria right now at this critical point in time that the social media is coming into play? Let's start with you.
Well, I think it's apparent that more than it was 4 years ago, the media space has expanded tremendously because of the activities of many young Nigerians on the social media. And as you noted, it's both possible, it's both positive or negative. It's like a two-edged sword. You either use it to cut your path or to cut your hand. And we've seen how instantaneous it can be and how so many people have suddenly become source of information. There are now emergency journalists everywhere, untrained, and it's really interesting. I would like to dwell somehow on the good aspects, the ability of candidates to project their views, to project their manifestos, to say all they want to say, to use all sort of third parties to reach their supporters and their non-supporters, to try to convince Nigerians to be on their side. Also, it can also be used to run opponents down. It can be used to spread fake news. And of course, as the topic of today shows, it can be a platform for hate campaigns. And that's where the regulatory authorities must come in to make sure that we don't have negative campaigns, to make sure that the law is complied with, and where sanctions need to be applied, we should not hesitate to apply sanctions. So I think it's good for our society, but in as much as we enjoy the positive side of it, the beauty of it, the ability of many people to receive information instantaneously, we must also know the negative effects of what misuse of the social media can cause, especially in our society with all our issues, with the problems of nation building we have experienced, and the tendency for little things to ignite more trouble. We must really be careful of the use of social media.
Okay, indeed, it's a large space just waiting, to be explored by so many people out there. Now, David Okoji, your job is sort of cut out for you. It might be difficult, but it's already cut out for you on the path you're supposed to follow if you choose.
Well, you see, the point must be made that social media itself as platforms are not necessarily bad, like Mr. Aluko rightly said. But in the same way as you would find various shades of characters in a market, you would also find various shades of character on the social media space. And people manifest different types of attitude and characters wherever they find themselves. Social media has had tremendous positive impact globally on the way we communicate, on our culture, on our values, and on our world views. So social media as platforms as they exist are not necessarily bad. It's a technological breakthrough that has indeed created a global village, as they proverbially say. So what then is the challenge? The challenge is on how
certain types of people use the social media space. This is where we have the problem. You know, Mr. Luko had made reference to hate speech. There's also the challenge of disinformation, of misinformation and malinformation. Talking about the forthcoming 2023 general elections, we're beginning to see how this is playing out to confuse prospective voters. Unfortunately, politicians are aware of the power that exists in the social media, the power of instantaneity, the power of changing attitudes and perceptions, you know, and then the technical skills that are involved in actually fact-checking and finding out whether the information you find in the social media space are authentic or not before you allow yourself to be influenced, you know, by such information. Politicians have recognized this, so they're recruiting people, experts, who are crafting deep fakes, you know, who are crafting disinformation using videos, using text and pictures, and are confusing the electorates with informations that are not factual, in the belief that the average electorate does not have the capacity to fact check and find out whether what he's seeing, watching, or reading is true or not. And so people just fly with this information. Now, this is the negative component. It is unfortunate that politicians have joined the fray and are actually recruiting people to use the social media space to propagate and perpetuate disinformation, hate speech, like Mr. Aluko said, because some of this disinformation are crafted to turn one group of people against another group, either based on their political beliefs and persuasion or on religious or regional grounds. And this is extremely bad for our country. You know, and like you said in the intro, we find that people are no longer interrogating the policies and programs, yes, and the authenticity of what these politicians are saying. You know, people are being made to believe that religion of necessity confers capacity on a person, an ability to perform, which is very far from the truth. You know, there are people existing in all manner of religion who have capacity, you know, and who are able to deliver on good governance. And I think at this point, this should be very, very critical in the minds of all Nigerians. Okay, gentlemen, I hear that our Zoom connection with our other guests is ready. We have Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, is the Provost, Police Public Relations School, Lafia. He's also a retired Commissioner of Police. He's joining us via Zoom from Owerri. You are welcome to Tuesday Live. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Good to have me.
Okay, we also have Lester Wilcox. He's a public affairs analyst. He's joining us via Zoom, you know, from Lagos. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a divine pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Let me come to Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, and can you tell us in plain terms the position of the security agencies on the social media, fake news and hate speech? What is the position of the security agencies on that?
Well, the social media is a welcome development. It is a citizen journalism. A good number of Nigerians are now empowered to communicate, disseminate information. So it's a good development. And when we look at telephone density and then the connectivity Nigerians have to internet is quite large. But where it becomes a problem is where the instrumentality of a mobile phone, a handheld device, a tablet, a computer, laptop is used to spread an information, what is news in quotes, that whoever is sending it knows full well that it is false in every material particular. And the intention is to, like somebody earlier on said, to disinform, deceive the public, create a wrong impression in their minds. the battle for the soul of Nigeria, a large part of it is online on social media. So somebody wants to win a particular group of people by giving out what he knows to be fake, false. He has not verified. He believes it is false, but he wants to use that information to hoodwink a number of people, make them change their opinion, change their perception of a thing, of a person, of an ethnic group, or something. That is fake news. In the process, it may generate to hate speech when the intention is to create a feeling of resentment against a person, against a political party in this case, against an ethnic group, against a person because of who he is, a he or she, against a person because of his religion, ethnic lineage, or what have you. And it leads to a number of issues which are against the law, which negates our constitution, the essence of democracy, which is freedom. Hate speech may lead somebody to deny somebody his or her rights. It may lead to violence. It may lead to physical attack, psychological attack, economic attack, social attack. It may lead to xenophobia. So, in the law enforcement circle, hate speech is a no-no. And of course, the law is against it. The Cybercrime Act is against hate speech. And so that is the position as it is, in my estimation.
Okay, that's lovely. As we're trying to establish the positivity and negativity of the social media, let me now reach Alexa. There are broader issues of hate speech in every society. Can you, in your own opinion, outline some of the key challenges that is so difficult to combat?
Well, thank you very much. Without blogging the issue of, the parameters or the definition of the social media and the hate speech, as my other colleagues has done a great justice to that aspect of it. But the issue today is the fact that you hear certain news or certain story or certain facts, and when you ask, how did you come about this, you hear it's in the internet. That's just the question. It's in the internet. And sometimes I try to interrogate those who put those, who are making it. I said, the internet, is it from heaven or, somebody put it there. So is it that everything you see in the internet is true and you believe it? It's of course, because it's in the internet, it's in the internet. And that is where we are today. And unfortunately, retired CP Ojukwu just talked about the position of the law. But for me, the more regulation comes in, the more it's even difficult to apply those regulations, because really and truly there's been a lot of laws, even from the back end of the providers of those platforms up to nationals and subnationals. There's been so much laws about regulation, but of course the more we try to bring up this law, the more it becomes difficult, because part of it is the enforcement mechanism. Today it is easy for anybody to deform, to rubbish the country. A lot of Nigerians, especially those living abroad, who has platforms and blogs, all they see them talk about is things that do not edify them. Nobody propagates what is right, what is going on, what positive is going on. I can mention their names, those blogs, and so I've stopped reading at them. So if you see them, the moment there is one issue, that's what they
Is Mr. Alexa as if we've lost him, but he'll get back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You can go on.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm clear. I can hear you. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, okay. So for me, hate speech is real.
Okay, Alistair, we'll come back to you so that you can explain further and, go over some other questions that we'll bring to you. Let me return to the studio. Mr. Victor Aluko, a young social media platform first began to bloom, inspired by the Barack Obama election, fueled by the generation of Facebookers of 2008. We started feeling the impact of it here in Nigeria in 2011, 2015, 2018 was explosive. It was a full use of the social media to ensure that the electorate get to know what is happening. Even some of the results were faked, they started coming out late. So, in your own opinion, how do you think it's going to play out in the 2023 elections?
It will be interesting. Actually, the comparison you were trying to make, the time is now apt for Nigeria because many of our young people who are children in 1999 and those who were born between 1999 and until 2004 or 2004 are the ones that are now between the ages of 18 and 30. And majority of our voters now, those who are registering, are within that range. They are very idealistic, educated, and they are not as patient as their parents. They know a lot. They are the ones who understand the social media platforms so much, and they're always on that. They're always on the social media. They get their information very fast. And they contact, they post all these things and they reach out to each other. That's why I said it's going to be interesting because these are people who have come of age and they make up their minds about political events. You'd think they don't know. I was shocked. A copper was talking to me the other day, and I was surprised at the knowledge of that copper about political events and various candidates. A young copper, a lady of just 22 years. And so there are so many of them. And that's why I'm saying it will be very interesting. They will mobilize their parents to vote. They will mobilize themselves to vote. They will mobilize their parents to vote. So for us in INEC, we're studying the trend. And we believe that the social media will cause what we call a massive turnout in 2023. People should expect a massive turnout. And Nigeria will be good for it because the more the people vote, the better for our political system. And I just want to call upon the candidates to take advantage of the power of the social media to actually market themselves. There is no need to engage in all these hate campaigns. Nobody is interested in all that one. It will not do anybody any good. Rather, use the platform for the good it's meant for and market yourself. Let your policies go forth. Let all these young people be convinced that you're a good candidate. And I'm telling you, mark my words, in a home where you have all these young 20, 21, the tendency is that the way they vote, they will sort of influence their parents to also toe their line. I can see. You see that they argue, they argue forcefully.
They're influencers.
That's it. They argue forcefully. They speak forcefully. The way we sort of cringe in front of our own parents when we are there, they don't do that anymore. And so what I'm saying is, you talked about the Obama campaign and what happened in the US, how it propelled a new generation of leaders and all that. The same thing is going to happen in this country. We will have a situation where young people will really be interested in participating, and they will participate. They are the ones who, they look at the problems of the society. They have their own ideas. They're educated. People who have gone to school, who are still in school. They know what should be and how things should be. Like I said the other day, you have so many people leaving school. the what we call the effect of what we used to call a luta continua in school. You know, the idealism. You want to do all sort of things. You have a opinion about everything. You
feel time is not enough.
You say time is not enough. So we have that generation. Maybe we'll call it a beavers generation, because that's the generation that wants one man, one vote. They want vote to count, and they want the system to be clean. That's a beavers generation. That's what we have. So you made a good comparison. What happened during the Obama era? The sort of numbers that propelled a person like Obama to power.
I was one of those back in Nigeria. We were all over the Facebook, just trying to, understand such a revolution.
So we should actually monitor the way our society is. Nigeria of today is different from Nigeria of 2003 or 1999. It's a changing country, and as I said, people must draw from that strength and use it positively. Ignore these hate campaigns, because even the hate campaigns we're talking about, morally, legally, we must leave them, we must ignore them. As you know, when we talk about legal aspects, there are penalties. Why should anyone go into what can bring several effects on their lives? There are penalties. You can be fined, you can get jailed. People tend to take things for granted. If the police do their job, anybody who engages all those hate campaigns can be in deep trouble. So why all that? Do the right thing. Campaign very well. Reach the right demographics. And as a senatorial candidate, as a House of Reps candidate, state level candidate, you just see that you can win, especially in urban areas. Especially urban areas. Even in rural areas, you'll be surprised at the number of people who are on the social media. You go to villages, you see many young people, secondary school, who are out of secondary school, they're already getting cheap smartphones, and they're always on all these platforms.
As long as it gives them the opportunity to be able to contribute.
That's it.
Mr. David, it's a digital restless generation. It's no longer analog. Like I said earlier, your job is cut out for you. What is the reach and spread of your connectivity with this younger generation? Some of them are first-time voters. There's this excitement, all over the place that they are going to vote for the first time for their right candidate. What is your spread and reach in the aspect of educating and enlightening them on how to use the social media positively without hate speech or fake news, or believing in most of these fake news that are out there?
There are quite a number of things that we're doing. Like you already know, we have presence and national footprint in all the states and all the local governments. But I'll just speak to you about a few of the key steps that the National Orientation Agency is taking in the build-up to 2023 general election. This awareness, political awareness that Mr. Aluko speaks about is real. Now it's positive as it can also be dangerous. And we're aware of this, and we're watching the trends, just like INEC is doing. I'll tell you some of the things we're seeing, and some of the understanding we're drawing from the things that we are seeing, which is informing our messaging, and the sort of campaigns we are targeting, at the youths. We're seeing a trend that creates the impression, that this generation that Mr. Aluko speaks about has the impression that there can be a quick fix.
An impression or a belief?
A belief that there can be a quick fix. Now, in nation building, it takes a process, it takes time, and it takes consistency to get the people from where they are to where they're supposed, to be. Now, when there's a groundswell of this feeling that we can quickly fix this thing and everything will be fine, what it does is this: it builds expectations, and once those expectations are built and people become emotional, and they emotionally follow, by the time they find out the facts that there's no quick fix, there's a painstaking process of participation, both from the leadership and from the led, then you see people begin to lose confidence in government. And then you have a new kind of problem, discontent. We have seen this happen before. In between several governments, we've seen this play out. Today, with the presence of the social media, we are seeing candidates positioning themselves as messiahs who would change our situation once they get access to power. So National Orientation Agency is moderating this kind of thinking coming from various sections, so that post-2023 elections, when reality begins to stare us in the face, we will recognize that each one of us has a personal responsibility to contribute to nation building. That's not a responsibility that the rest of us, after elections, will cede to just a few group of people. Yes, you're going to have people steering the ship of the state on our behalf as leaders at various levels, but we have our civic responsibilities. Civic responsibility, for instance, to pay tax. Civic responsibility, for instance, to be peaceful. Civic responsibility, for instance, to love our neighbor. Civic responsibility, for instance, to be religiously tolerant, to understand the fact that Nigeria is multicultural, multi-religious, and we have several tribes and tongues, but we are one people, So these are some of the directions that we're going. In the heat of the contestations for power that the election is all about, people are forgetting some of these things, and the focus in, okay, we are going through hell and this will change instantly based on my candidate or your candidate or that candidate. So we're saying no. There are realities on the ground. Nation building is a painstaking process. We didn't get to where we are overnight. It took several years of doing the wrong things on all sides for us to find ourselves where we are now. And we must all commit and patiently put our shoulders to the plow and work to build the kind of nation that we want to see. Now, this type of narrative that we're putting out there is to moderate expectations that over the years have always led to distrust on the part of citizens to government. So this is one aspect we're doing. But more importantly, because the social media has become such a potent tool for communication, and good and bad people are on it doing their thing, this is what we're doing. The National Orientation Agency is building capacity for citizens across this country on fact-checking skills. We have graduated 7 classes, this year.
What modalities are you using?
We are partnering with the best fact-checkers in West Africa, Center for Democracy and Development, and Premium Times, which is now Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. These are leading fact-checkers in West Africa. National Orientation Agency is partnering with them to deliver the national fact-checking course. And we have graduated 7 courses as I speak with you. Going beyond that, we have seen that public servants are slow uptakers as far as ICT is concerned. And you need ICT skills to be able to efficiently operate the social media. So we are also doing something about that. On the 8th of this month, under the leadership of the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, we shall be at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. And we are talking to MDAs, senior officials in MD, because we discovered there's something that Ojukwu talked about. The social media space is actually the communication space of choice, not only for young people. If you want quick information, if you want deep insights, if you want various perspectives, people are no longer going to newspapers. They are going to the social media space. They are going to Twitter. They are going to Instagram, to Facebook, and all of that. And that's where they are getting this information. So we're going to be building capacity for senior staff of ministries, department, and agencies at NIPS this month. And it's an ongoing thing. The idea is to ensure that domiciled in ministries, departments, and agencies of government, there's capacity to check. There's capacity to engage people on the social media highway, not by quarreling, by mature conversations that lifts conversation from that youthful argument level and all of that by presenting
Because
facts.
the arguments are heating up.
That's the thing. By presenting facts that change perspective and opens eyes, you know. So these are on the technical side, things that National Orientation Agency has been doing and will be doing. You talked about regulation.
Yes.
At the beginning of this conversation, I want to speak to that.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
But I need to reach out to my other guests. Don't forget, in due course, as a tradition on this program, we're going to open the phone lines for you to call in. But please tone down the volume of any device you're using so that we can hear your questions and the guest in the studio will be able to respond. Let me now go to Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu. Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, Section 97 of the Electoral Act says hate speech is a crime. How punishable is it?
Well, the law has criminalized hate speech, and so whoever does it, there's a penalty. I think it's Cybercrime Act that mentioned 3 years and all that. But I don't have the details about what the Electoral Act said as regards penalty. The bottom line is that when the law has found a tendency in people to do certain things, I'm having at the back of his mind that the continuous doing of such a thing may lead to disquietness in the system, disorder, or anarchy. The law prohibits it, so the penalties are there. But the important thing is that hate speech, it causes a lot of discontent, contentment. It may lead to violence, which the law enforcement community are trying to prevent, because we have a lot in our hands already. So if we minimize the use of abusive languages, intemperate languages in political campaigns, if politicians and the actors focus on the issues at hand and not, so to speak, heat up the politics, because as it were, the nation is hurting. There is insecurity in the land. Everybody is crystal clear about that. There were fear and anxiety. There are pent-up emotions. And people are looking for catharsis, where to let it off. When they let it off in the social media space, by abusing people, calling names, and influencing violence against certain groups, political parties, or persons, as the case may be, the nation will go down. So it's imperative that those who have access to social media, and there are quite a large number of them, the youth in particular, Nigeria is like 60% population, 60% of the population is about youth. We need to reach out to them, that not everything you hear from people is the truth. Not all that glitters is good. They need to fact check. They need to look at the pedigree of who is saying that thing. What are the person's antecedents? And they should put it in context. Why is he saying this? Why is he saying this? Is he saying this to bring me out to cause violence while his family are somewhere abroad reading? They need to be circumspect. They need to look before they leap. They need to aim properly before they shoot, so that they don't make a mistake. And to further checkmate it, I like what my colleague is talking about, what the NOA is doing. We need to further reach out to adults. A good number of them have the impression that they are above the law. In a democracy, nobody should be above the law, except the Constitution says so for those who have immunity. And that immunity is limited to a certain time. A good number of people do things as if nobody can reach out to them, that the law cannot catch up with them, that are above the law. That's a wrong signal. And the youth that we know right now, somebody mentioned in this program, they are impatient. They want a change of their situation. And change takes time. It takes time. But because they are impatient and they see those who they think are the ones causing the problem in the country, acting with impunity as if there's immunity for impunity. That is where violence may come in, and that is what the law enforcement community are watching out for, and they are very, very sensitive towards it. So let those who are in government, those who are adults, depart from the path of delinquency. The young ones are copying delinquency from the adults. They see them misbehave, so that as they misbehave and nothing happens to them, the chances of the young ones misbehaving as well are very high. And we need to curtail it because they are more in number. And using social media, they can mobilize within a second. If we remember what happened during the NSAS, these boys were able to mobilize themselves, do so many things within seconds, and they took the nation by storm. We need to prevent a rehash of NSAS. It will not do this country any good, particularly now that we're going to elections. Let it be done properly by those who are in positions, and above all, let there be no space, what they call information void. If there's a problem somewhere, and Nigerians are aware of it, let there be a position of those who have the mandate to speak on that. Let us speak on it. We are aware of this position. This is why it happened, and this is what we are doing. Once Nigerians get that information, and government is saying the truth about what is happening, and they get to understand what the government is doing, the recourse to fake news that may generate hate speech may be minimized.
Indeed, Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, you've raised some pertinent questions. Let me join Alistair now. They say it's a restless generation ready to explore other avenues in the social media. With an estimated 150 million Nigerians on the social media, is the field too big to be covered?
Well, I don't think the field is too big to be covered. When we talk about restless, I think I will also use the word restless and misguided, because majority of the youth, even those that have that are educated, are generally misguided, and the fact that everybody wants a quick fix and thinking that this thing can be fixed within by the wave of a magic wand. And it gets very worrisome that even when you engage some people, I even try to make them understand the basic truths, they don't seem to listen. But unfortunately, too, for me, I'm happy somebody from that National Orientation Agency here. I was impressed with what he has rolled out as to what is being done or what they are doing at National Orientation Agency. Actually, from his presentation, I think they understand the problem perfectly well, and it suits into my own narrative of understanding the problem. But the fact is, Nigerians cannot really make credence to the fact that this is happening. National Orientation Agency is supposed to be the counterforce to the misinformation and miscommunication in the society. But regrettably, I'm not indicting, but regrettably, I'm not sure many Nigerians who are taking the fact. At some point, there is even the questions around circles: are they still existing? Because I know that in the past, the NOA has been a very veritable instrument, especially during the military. They have been a very veritable instrument that is being used to propagate the activities of government and to correct society as the society is going wrong. I know for free, I mean, the kind of amount of work they've done, so while they understand the problem, while the representative there has really struck the problem very well heard, and of course the solution that they are preparing, but I don't think it is cascading down. The space is not that big, because if you look at it, it's mainly the urban areas that you have deep penetration of internet penetration and social media, and so the most part of the rural area, which constitute a vast majority of the country, is not covered. And so it is clear that it's a few but of course, very powerful few, very powerful minority, so to say, very powerful minority. And the fact remains that bad news travel fast, and by the time bad news is being spread, that goes very fast. Of course, it takes time for good news to catch up with them. And of course, they said, well, the saying is that lies can run for a long time, but it takes 1 hour or a few minutes for truth to catch up. They want to catch up, the damage that have been done. Because even the NSAS that we just pushed here, the NSAS was based on false premise. All the information that we have spread, all the gaudy pictures that were spread in the social media, they are all false narrative. But of course, by the spread of those information, those things, it has already spread. It already created the problem, and the problem has already been. I mean, the whole country was boiling. Even now, some of them start realizing late now that some of those things were not true. So I think that in covering the space, the agency responsible, Ministry of Information at the federal level, State Ministry of Information, State Information offices, then the National Energy Agency, which is the umbrella body for a positive reminding or positive redirection of the minds of the people, will be at work. I think they need to be at work, because really and truly, the rate at which misinformation goes in our society, the rate at which people believe the wrong thing, the rate at which people have mistrust, even when the government is doing something that is for their own favor, the rate at which people think Nigeria is a place for handouts. I mean, a lot of people think that government is Alpha and Omega. Just like somebody said, in terms of responsibility, a lot of people don't believe that they have responsibility towards governance. No, a lot of Nigerians don't believe that they have responsibility. All they believe is that there's a government, and government is their father, government is their God. Even the food they eat, they should be aware of government. So these are some of the things that fuel this misinformation, and that which social media capitalizes upon to expand in their minds. So, but if there is a counter force that's also educated, because I know that when I was growing up, I know the kind of jingles on radio. I mean, I grew up in Port Harcourt, when Radio Rivers used to have 1001 jingles, thousands and one jingles, and these things are continual. They are there continually. But unfortunately today, even though we have more radio stations,
Simba has gone off again. He will come back so that he can talk more about it. Indeed, we're talking about enlightenment, educating Nigerians on the power of the social media and how to use it positively. Now, let's get the pulse of Nigerians. We have reports that will back up this conversation. We're taking the first report from Lagos.
The social media space has become an all-comers affair for various reasons, including information dissemination, content creation, and promotion of products. Most worrisome of the medium is the unregulated pattern, which has caused more panic to the citizenry than good in terms of sharing unverified information, fake news, invasion of privacy, and identity theft.
Well, social media and hate speech is one of the major concerns, I think. A lot of times people need to understand that there is a line that you should never cross. The fact that we are able to engage with one another socially does not give us the right to abuse some of those leverages. Some of those leverages. We're supposed to use it for good. However, people have begun to use all kinds of technology, including the social media platforms, to propagate hate speech, to propagate things that will divide us, which is not good.
While some political candidates have engaged the platform more to canvass for support in the forthcoming 2023 general elections, the speed at which 8 campaigns have dominated the medium has generated concerns and worries, which some Nigerians described as undemocratic and unpatriotic.
It has also become a veritable platform for dissipation of fake news about political activities. So all sort of things are fabricated, videos, images, words, and are attributed to people that are not necessarily true. So this is a very negative side.
People will always talk negatively about the candidates they don't like. So this is where we need to now verify ourselves what that news is all about. anybody can just go on social media, maybe on Facebook or post a video on TikTok on whatever, and just drop a content without being verified. We will all lose the focus. So it's a work on ourselves that we need to first verify information before sharing it out.
As some Nigerians make the social media space a source of information gathering and sharing, political parties, content creators, and vloggers have been admonished to, as a matter of responsibility, put only credible information on their handle, devoid of hate.
Our next report is from Kaduna.
Political space in Kaduna State is not spared from social media onslaughts, and it continues to overheat the polity. Next year's elections may differ from previous elections because some politicians with dubious character choose social media platforms to channel their poisonous messages and create disharmony among their supporters.
When you check on some of these pages, WhatsApp, Facebook, and so on, you see a lot of things, some very useful, some very useless. So, one, it is your own responsibility to know what is good and what is bad. Take what is good, use it, and delete immediately what you think is bad.
For all sorts of things, but the organized media run by the responsibility of journalism and professional journalism and so on should be kept. And with that, I'm sure you'll be able to take care of whatever talking about.
The country desires a seamless campaign process which promotes healthy and acceptable competition, leading to the emergence of credible set of leaders in the next year's election. This can be possible through proper regulations of social media platforms.
The federal government and the states should plan something that we can catch those who give something wrong, especially through the communication systems. Whoever gives wrong information, they should be caught. And if they are caught, they should be punished. And in the process of punishing, people should see what is done to them. I'm sure if people know that if I send something wrong, they can come and catch me and punish me, I'm sure it will reduce it.
The consensus among stakeholders is that media platforms should not be allowed, under the guise of freedom of information, to truncate the nation's democratic process, hence the need for serious sanctions to avoid political catastrophe. Achari Maxwell.
Thank you, Achari. You've listened to the report, and I'm sure you've gotten a glimpse, felt the tempo and the pulse of the people out there. I'm coming back to you, Mr. David. In trying to enlighten the population, you said you're going through the ministries and agencies and another workshop maybe at NIMS. What about Beavers generation, which Mr. Victor Aloko has talked about here? The Beavers generation, the young generation, the first-time voters who are excited to go out there and vote. What are you doing to rein them in case they step out flying?
These people you refer to as the Beavers generation are largely in the social media space. They are the ones you find on Twitter. They are the same ones you find on Facebook and all the other social media platforms, and they monitor the trends. A good number of them are not there just to cause trouble. There are young people who make a living from their operations in the social media space, and that culture is also growing. National Orientation Agency is present in all of these social media spaces. Yes, we're present on Twitter, we're present on WhatsApp, we're present on Facebook.
Mr. Alistair said he's not aware of what you're doing.
What Mr. Alex is saying is that some of the things I spoke about now that we're doing appear to be at the top and not trickling down to the grassroots. And when people talk about the grassroots, they are talking about the villages, the local governments, those far-flung areas where people are not yet that familiar with these social media handles, places where people are financially challenged. and they would not buy their data perhaps for 500 naira and spend all of it trying to read about a government policy or about the Electoral Act, which is several pages, and would probably exhaust their data reading one document. So this type of people, you need to engage with them on the streets. You need to engage with them in the markets, and in various spaces where they congregate. And we are doing this at the National Orientation Agency. With regards to this capacity building that I'm talking about, that's not public enlightenment. This is building people's capacity to equip them with the skills to use digital tools to fact-check videos, fact-check text, and fact-check pictures. In that process of fact-checking, you're able to determine where such videos first occurred. Some of them didn't happen in this country. Some of the things you see, or some of these videos that are being doctored and used by propagators of hate speech and disinformation, were incidents that occurred perhaps in Rwanda, in Sudan, and such other places where there's documented historical incidents of violence. And they bring it here to incite one group of people against another group of people. So that's capacity building, and we think this is extremely important, especially for government people, senior officials, people who are in charge of ICT and social media handles. And every ministry, department, and agency today have social media handlers. So it's important to build the capacity of these people to enable them use digital skills, to do the same sort of things and checkmate. That's the word that Alistair, used, to checkmate these negative people who have built their own capacity to cause trouble in the social media space by exposing their lies and putting out, the truth. That's what we're doing at that space. At the level of public enlightenment, 3 times within the past 3 months, we have brought our state directors here. And we have state directors, like I told you, in the 36 states. They are in charge of the community orientation and mobilization officers in the local governments. We have built their capacity also in fact-checking. Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development helped us out with that. And I told you they are one of the best fact-checkers in the whole of West Africa. They train people from other countries, also on fact-checking skills. So we are taking it step by step. There's a lot more that we need to do. I wouldn't sit here and tell you that we have done all that we are supposed to do. Progress, yes, there are several limitations. There's limitations of funding, there's limitations of equipment. The much that we desire to do, the much that we're able to do is mitigated by some of these limitations that I described to you. But we are finding workaround solutions to ensure that we are not static, that we are making moves. But given the right kind of support, there's a lot that we are able to do.
You have the personnel to do it.
Absolutely.
Mr. Victor Aloko, you've listened to him, and I'm sure you're working hand in hand with the National Orientation Agency in the area of enlightenment. And let's talk about the penalties for hate speech during campaigns. Let's talk about the Section 92 of the Electoral Act and the punishable offense under that. Enlighten us on that.
Well, it's clear. We talk about hate speech. Hate speech is always in form of abusive language, slanderous language, intemperate language, a sort of innuendos, a sort of speech that tend to malign people and that tend to misinform, disinform, and spread fake news. And the law provides for penalties for it. Fake news, hate speech can be from a candidate or any of the close supporters of candidates acting on behalf of that candidate. Of course, can also come from political parties themselves, that is, agents of a political party using wrong language against those of another political party. And as Section 92 provides, when a candidate is found guilty of such abusive language, of such slanderous language, the penalty is a $1 million or 1 year imprisonment. $1 million or 1 year imprisonment when a candidate is found guilty. And that's where candidates have to be careful.
Okay.
Because when supporters of candidates act on their behalf, there's some form of vicarious liability. And the candidates will have to account for the activities of their supporters.
Don't you think the candidates will get away with it while the people down the line get, at the bottom get the penalties?
Well, that's why they have to be careful. Everyone should be careful. If you're acting on behalf of a candidate, and you be careful about what you do, the penalty is clear. And if it's a political party, in the first instance, the party can be found guilty and we have to pay a fine of 2 million. And in the second instance, or subsequent infractions, 1 million. And so, if a political party continues,
experts will say that is not.
But
much.
No, it's much, because if a political party is found guilty, you pay 2 million. Another 2 weeks, you're found guilty, you pay 1 million. You're found guilty, you pay 1 million. It's quite a lot.
That's going to be a lot, yeah.
It's quite a lot. And for a candidate, if you're a candidate or a supporter of a candidate, you have to be very careful, because a supporter of the candidates have to pay that money. It taints their image and their standing in the society. And you see, the spectrum is quite big. People tend to look at only the big candidates, the big positions. But we also know that in this country, we have state assembly candidates, so many of them. You have candidates for all these positions. There is a need for everyone to be abreast with the law, and to know that there are penalties for these things. And the fact that it seems as if maybe law enforcement agents do not want to be seen to be too hard on anyone, do not want to be seen to be oppressing anyone, does not mean,
because of human rights.
Does not mean the law is not there. And sometimes when people actually do the wrong thing, they can find themselves on the wrong side of the law.
Indeed. On that note, we'll take a break. When we return, we'll take a report, and the phone lines will be open for you to join the conversation. But don't forget to tone down the audio of any device you're using. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
The 157-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Railway is the first double-track standard gauge railway to be built in West Africa. The Mobolaji Johnson train station is a masterpiece, an infrastructure that is gradually becoming an iconic building in Lagos State. The modern facilities put the station on a world map of train stations. Likewise, other new train stations across the country built to world-class standards. The train and its convenience is indeed an admirable effort, with commendations from Nigerians.
This is a station that we have to commend the federal government for putting a beautiful face, empowering us in Lagos State, not only in economic and political arena.
I can say that I'm really impressed with the infrastructures in place. Kudos to the Minister of Transportations. Kudos to the federal government.
Truly, good things are coming out of Nigeria, and the federal government is deserving of all the applause.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is NTA Tuesday Live. We're live in Abuja, and we're discussing hate speech, the social media, and other matters arising. We'll take a report from Enugu now to sort of talk about issues more.
Since the return of civil rule in 1999 and the enthronement of constitutional democracy that guarantees freedom of speech, politicians have often resorted to using faulty lines of ethnic and religious divisions as narratives, sometimes panning to hate speech. As constitutional and other structural reforms are being intensified to reduce ethnic politics in Nigeria, some political elites are exploiting new ways of assessing and consolidating their hold on political power.
If a section of people thinks that are better than other people, I'll get angry. And when I get angry, the next thing is for me to speak anything that I don't even know about you. So that I'll add all sorts of influence. That's my message. But again, we cannot continue that way. The political issues that are here, politicians are there, protestants are throwing bombs at each other. No, it shouldn't be so.
Investigations reveal that the use of hate speech has been elevated to the status of political campaign in the media. With these ill-fated developments, experts have suggested that ideal checks and balances should be evolved to ensure continued reduction of the scourge of ethnic politics to improve democratic consolidation in the country. Part of these checks, they said, is to enact laws that guard against hate speech in both mainstream and social media.
Considering the fact that the social media space has been liberalized, which is actually a welcome development, but I think adequate mechanisms should be put in place to ensure that the rights of the candidates and even other citizens are not violated or threatened to be violated in the course of the campaigns being carried out.
Concerns of Nigerians are issues that can elevate us from the difficulties we have found ourselves in, from one manner of challenges. What they really demand from those who are aspiring for position is to talk about these issues, how to resolve them.
As the 2023 general elections draw nearer, political enthusiasts and politicians have taken to the media to promote their political parties and candidates. And this is why political analysts have suggested that abusive and hate speeches should be checkmated accordingly to avoid ethnic violence in the country. In Enugu, Kelechi Ochiara.
Thank you, Kelechi. Let me now go to Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu. Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, this is the 7th consecutive elections we're going to have in Nigeria since 1999. And it has been a journey that most people would say it's a potpourri of, experiences. Now going into the 2023 elections, we have some positive, just with the Osun election, where people were able to give tips and, join in the conversation to ensure that the security agencies were able to get to the root of the problem during the elections. Is that not a positive trend there?
Well, a lot of issues have arisen in the course of conducting election in Nigeria, right from pre-independence and, as you just mentioned, since the return of democracy in 1999. Every subsequent election has recorded a decrease in voter turnout. Every subsequent election succeeds the previous one with an increase in violence, increase in fear of crime and such things. So Nigerians, as we approach 2023 election, many Nigerians are circumspect. There is a pendulum of fear that is there. Because judging from what we are experiencing nationwide in terms of insecurity, and then again, in some sections of this country, there's a greater high of fear of insecurity. Like in the southeast, what is happening every Monday and all that. And somebody saying that there's no election here because of this, because of this. Some of these things are agitating the minds of Nigerians. As regards Osun election, Nigerians played their roles as expected of them. A good number of them were able to checkmate vote buying, and because INEC have upped the ante, improved their performance in the election using beavers and some other new technology they've got and new orientation, we're able to check electoral malpractices, reduce violence, and that is good for a law enforcement group. I recall that even yesterday, the president himself commended Nigeria police for their conduct in that election and some other off-cycle elections that preceded it. I believe that as we approach the 2023 election, Nigerians need to be properly oriented. They have an understanding that if this country goes down because of an election, then we have no country to live in. And we need to speak about engagement, if I might go there now. If we have connectivity among 60% of Nigerians being youths in their millions, earlier you talked about 150 million, that's a huge number. We need to couch a message and then look for a means to reach them. We must engage their minds into positive thinking. You don't blame somebody if you have not trained them. We need to engage the youth, engage their minds into positive attributes, into positive virtues about nationhood, and give them hope about the future of this country. Nations make mistakes. It takes time for nations to actually evolve. It takes time for democracy to have roots and grow and begin to yield proper dividends. Youth need to learn that. The youth also need to be taught the history of Nigeria. We don't teach history in this country, and that's a shame for Nigeria. Let's engage them on the historical path Nigeria has gone through, the mistakes of yesteryears, so that they in their own 20s and 30s do not repeat the mistake of their forefathers, some of whom died regrettably. Apart from that, we need to engage the youth, engage their hands, not just their minds. Let there be new avenues of employment. Let's not teach the youth what to do with their hands. Because if they are engaged, as I said, another workshop is a devil, another man is devil's workshop. If the youths are engaged in doing things for themselves, to earn a living for themselves, to be useful to themselves and society, they may resort less to being on the phone all the time, looking for fake news here and there. And then again, those the powers that be, or those who are responsible.
Mr. Otuko, the phone lines are open, and I'm sure Nigerians are listening to the points that you are making now, and they would love to contribute to this conversation. Let's join Udom from Jalingo.
Hello.
Hello, Udom. Go ahead. Reduce the audio of your device or your television set, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good evening.
Evening.
I followed your program for the past 20 minutes, and I discovered that the topic is very, very, let me say, very, very urgent and needful to be treated. But I find it difficult to comprehend some of the things people are really, some of your facilitators or panelists are saying as a result of hate speech. The social media is a platform that has really helped the citizenry of this country to be abreast with information. Because today in Nigeria, information regarding people's safety, information regarding what is needful is being hoarded. So as such, I'm looking at these hate speech things, the way the people are discussing, as a political tool that if people want to use it to kind of inhibit the citizenry from speaking out what is truth. Because, for instance, now let's look at what is happening recently. We had information that certain things are not going well as per the security, and the government came out and refuted the international information. But of recent, we are having a lot of information coming up that was a fact that needed to be heeded by our government to help secure the life of citizens. So what I'm talking about is this. If you, in America, Ben Carson wrote a book that called Gift Finger. But when he went to for the president, the gifted finger was brought focus. And things were said about it which affected his political career, which he, at the end of the day, he had to acknowledge it. That we are at this moment, honoring when their historical pedestal is not good. Tend to even talk about coming into the.
Okay, Mr. Idom, well, I think we've got the point. Let me bring in Alessa to sort of respond to that question before Dr. Emmanuel comes in. Alessa.
But as a matter of fact, just give it to me. You see, the truth of the matter is today, I mean, the likes of Udom will always, and there are many of them, of Nigerians in that sphere, that will always want to hear the bad news. So long as the bad news goes out there, they are comfortable with it. And nothing that the government or the official sources will do will make any sense, because that is what they want to hear. And for me, we have allowed it to have weathered too far. Today, if you post anything positive about, okay, let's even take this security people talks about. Post anything positive about what the military is doing. How much the military is taking the heat on behalf of this country, our men and women in uniform, the police, the army, all the military, all the security, taking the heat on our behalf, fighting the insurgents war, making victories in reclaiming territories. Put that in the social media, and you see how many likes or how many retweets you will get. You won't get any. Rather, you will get condemnation. What you hear is a lie. These are our brothers, our sisters, our friends, our fathers, our mothers that are putting their lives on the line for us, and they are making sustainable gain. But put that out in the social media. You will hear it's a lie. They are covering up. But just go and put that, an insurgency happened in social place and 4 military men were killed. They will retweet that thing 200 times and tell you so it was not 4, it was 20. The military is high. So this is where we are today. And for me, it's sad. Now, look, I tell people something, and whenever I go out, of course they fight me and they say I'm part of government. I've never worked in any government agency before. I love this country, and all I do is to keep the best approach to the country. Go out there and tell them, okay, can you count how many cars that will go from Lagos to Sokoto every day? If you go to Imbo, cars load every day to Sokoto, to Katsina, to Lagos. That's why I say Imbo. Cars load every day. If you take a sample of cars that goes to the east every day from Lagos, converge at for the east, go there and count. You might count more than 2,000 transport vehicles that travel on our roads every day. Just tell people that. Put it that our roads is safe for people to travel. You will get and see the backlash you will get. But just get one day that somewhere in Damatru a bus was attacked by bandits. That will go 200 times and they will tell you Nigerian roads are never safe for people to travel. So these are the things and that is why I have a problem with National Hydrology Agency. If the likes of my brother from Jalingo will be still at this point, all you want to hear is now the American government came up with an alert, which they always do everywhere in the world, but they forgot that California has there's also a place called California where the third most powerful woman in America lives, and his house was attacked. But they are giving the Americans were busy giving security report about security flash about Nigeria, and Nigerians believed everything in total. And when the government come up and said, look, these are the issues, nobody wants to believe. And I think the National Hydrology Agency has their work cut out, because today the fake news, the hate speech, the hate speech has gained ground, and like I said, that is what they want to hear. And if there is no consistent effort to hit back, to reclaim back that space, unlike before, you only have NTA, Radio Nigeria, and some other news media from space and all whatnot. Newspapers, of course, which you wait for the next day. If any news broke, you wait till the next day to hear it on the newspaper. But now you have diverse of radio stations. In fact, most of them online. You have a diverse of newspapers online.
We have another phone call coming in.
Yes, I know. So these things become very, very.
Yes, Alesta, we have another phone call coming in, and Ismail in Kaduna would like to say something. Ismail, you can go on. Okay, we seem to have lost him. Let's Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu respond to Udom's queries about the social media and trying to gag the people who are there. Dr. Emmanuel. Okay, we have Ibrahim from Delta. Ibrahim, you can go on, then Dr. Emmanuel will respond to you.
Program. Say social media just identify the sickness, let me use that word, because this issue of fake news, hate speech has been on for decades. I will use myself as an example. I can remember when I was in the primary school, as we call the children, my classmates, they do call me house I coach. I will cry back home. There was a day my father told me, whenever they tell you house are good, tell them urobo grass. Meaning their goats eat the grass. You see, then back in the secondary school, I could remember also a teacher who is lecturing us during then it was military era. I don't know what causes the issues, but I could remember when he was saying that the whole money of this country has been taken to a particular state, which I don't want to mention in the north, they have built that state with Nigeria money, which is our oil money. It's referring to the oil. So you see, social media just identified the problem that we have been facing for decades. And I believe the information agency has a lot to do. They have to take those messages, have to enlighten people down to the grassroots, to this village square meeting, where people will understand that we don't have any other country than this green, white, green that we have. Wherever you come from, whether you come from the north, from the east, from the south, wherever you come from, you're a Muslim, you're a Christian, Nigeria is our country. We don't have any other country than this country. And if this country falls, everybody will fall. Just like what happened to yesterday in Libya. So please, the national agencies, all the national agencies have a big role to play. And to make them, the Nigerians, to understand, a politician does not know Christian, neither know Muslim. He has just one interest, to grab power. So we should use this opportunity, most especially the youth, to put all politicians to their foot.
Okay,
how do we do that?
Mr. Ibrahim, thank you so much.
I could remember if you want to go to school to seek for a job, they will ask you, present your CV. Present your CV. By the time you present your CV, maybe some of them will even call the companies that you've worked before to ask, what role have you played? How did you do it then? So let the youth use this platform to make this politician understand that our eyes are open. Thank God all the candidates that are coming today, they've tested power before. So everybody should bring out his document. Let us see. Let us go. Let us investigate. What have you done when you were in your state, or the position that you've been held before? Then from there we make a right choice. And I believe with that, The politician, we knew that the eyes of the Nigerians are open. By the time you are being given a position, you'll be able to do better, because you know if you do not do better, we will not bring you back in. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ismail from Kaduna. Let's join Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu so that he can be able to respond to Udom's questions and then yours too. Dr. Emmanuel.
Okay, yes. Udom spoke the minds of many Nigerians who do not believe that anything good will come out of this country. They don't believe the government. Some don't even believe themselves. That is a problem. Issue of distrust. Anything the government says will be taken with a pinch of salt. That's not how to build a country. If we destroy this country, there's no other country who call our own, as Ismail just mentioned. I've been to nations outside of this country. There are many Nigerians who are in US or wherever, they still want to come back home. There are Americans, Black Americans, African Americans, who are looking for their roots. They know they don't belong there. They are coming back to Africa, coming back to Nigeria, even as we are, because they know there's a future in this country. And that speaks to the engagement I was talking about before. We need to engage the minds of these ones, because it is what you eat. You are what you eat. We need to engage their minds. A man is the way he thinks. The way they think is the way they are. So let's arrest their thought processes using unorthodox, informal means, not by having lectures. It may not go that way. Scan the environment of these youths. The majority of users of this who are propagating fake news and hate speech. Scan the environment. Where do they tell us? A good number of them watch Nollywood. What stops Nigeria from having ambassadors among Nollywood actors to write scripts and act films that will engineer their viewers to begin to love the country and not to destroy their country? Suicide is not an offense, but attempted suicide is. Nigerians, by using hate speech and others, are attempting to kill themselves every day without knowing it. What do those people well? So use such. They watch football. They watch foreign football. Nothing stops Nigeria from using DSTV or whatever. Anytime they're watching a major match, let something scroll there. I love Nigeria. Let something scroll there. Hate news, hate speech is not good. Let something scroll there to bite their mind, because a good number of them are watching it. Why are we saying that? They should not destroy this country. Talking about guarding the media, because social media is citizen journalism. Almost virtually everybody can get into it. Once you have a smartphone, you buy 200 naira recharge card, you are on. You can do so many things.
Indeed, Mr.
And that is freedom of speech, guaranteed. But freedom of speech has its checks and balances. As you're exercising your freedom of speech, there are roadblocks, obstacles. One of them is the rights of others. You don't use your right to express yourself to hurt some other person. That's where hate speech comes in. So they should know that every Nigerian has the right to decent living in this country, to peace and harmony in this country. And nobody should use social media using hate speech to destroy another person's rights. That will not be fair. That's why I say we must engage their minds on the virtues of tolerance, the virtues of love for country. If somebody loves his country, he would not like to destroy it. Because by and large, he has nowhere else to go. No matter how long you stay in America, you must come back to Nigeria. Peace your home. I'm a Nigerian through and through.
Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, that's one point that Nigerians would, really need to listen to. Let's take this next call from Richard from Nasarawa before we get to my other guest to respond. Hello, Richard.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Yes, I want to.
Yes.
No, I've been watching the program, and the hate speech is hate speech. So we should try as much as we can to condemn it in totality, and not for us to be speaking either for or against. Imagine, look at the way we are condemning our country. The good things that the president is doing is not reported. Why only the bad things that is happening, the few bad things that is happening are always reported and hammered on it to look as if Nigeria is in disarray. So at least my contribution is that we should try to enlighten them, and the social media should be regulated as much as possible as you people can. I think that is my contribution.
Okay, thank you so much, Richard. Mr. Aloko, it's as if you're on the hot seat now. Yes, Akoji, you're on the hot seat. All the phone calls are talking about enlightenment, reorientation, in Nigeria. Let's have your take on Udong's, Richard's, and Ismail's school.
Well, I want to say to you that I'm really excited about all the responses I'm hearing. It indicates to me that Nigerians are very patriotic. They love this country deep down. It also indicates to me that Nigerians know the strategic place of the National Orientation Agency in nation building. Nation building is not just about building bridges, building roads, building hospitals. If you build all of these things and the character of the people who would use this thing is not built, then you will destroy and lose your entire investment that you have put into building this infrastructure. And this is one realization that people at the top echelon of government should come to. We need to prioritize the building of the attitude of our people. And that is the cry that you hear coming from all these people who have called. I salute Alistair Wilcox's patriotism. He's been unequivocal,
yes,
in terms of his understanding of the strategic role that national orientation is playing and should be playing in terms of changing our narratives, our national narratives, our attitude. There's a big issue around attitude, in this country. In years back when the military were in government, General Babangida recognized this for a fact, and that is why he set up MAMSA.
Yes.
Nigerians still talk about MAMSA today. When General Babangida, then as head of state, set up MAMSA, he domiciled it in the presidency under his direct supervision. He funded it, he equipped it, and MAMSA was able to go to the nooks and corners of this country and create narratives that still resonates in the minds of people, to this very day. Our situation today is worse than it was when MAMSA was established, and our attitude to the agency that transformed from MAMSA and is today called National Orientation Agency is of neglect at the least. But you see, Nigerians have not forgotten. Nigerians are making demands. They know which organization of government is responsible for dealing with attitudinal deficit, in our country. This knowledge is there. And so when we hear, from some quarters that National Orientation Agency should be scrapped, that National Orientation Agency local government offices should be scrapped, and this is because there's a pervasiveness of social media, and so social media can serve the purpose that our local government offices that are supposed to tend to the grassroots, are currently serving, then it just jogs your mind as to what kind of understanding the decision makers around these issues have, and whether at all they have their finger on the pulse of the people at the grassroots. I'm constrained to say some of these things because it's important to hear them at some point. Everyone that has spoken, everyone that has called, has made constant reference to National Orientation Agency and to the need for orientation, for sensitization, for publicity and all of that. And all of this is critical, and I'm taking it in good faith. It makes me really excited. The average Nigerian knows the role and the importance of the National Orientation Agency. The same people that did it in MAMSA till today are in NOA.
We have another call coming in before I come to Mr. Victor Aloko. It's Silas from Ogi. Hello?
Hello.
I can hear you. Can go on.
All right. Concerning the program was very, very interesting. In Nigeria, concerning the hate speech, which has been the problem of Nigeria, which has been destroying a lot of things in Nigeria. But I think the best solution for Nigeria to take to eradicate a hate speech in Nigeria is the state of origin. Nigeria is having a problem of state of origin. It's one of the major problems that Nigeria is having. When somebody wants to do something in outside his state, you will not ask the person to go back to his state to do something. Before you know it, the insult will start. Because I could remember, we're in Kogi State here, I'm from Kogi State here, but some other states came to register a voter's card. And some people, some hoodlums are chasing them back. Let them go, let them no register here and go to their state. I think it's part of the hate speech which we are talking about.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me come back to the studio where Dr. Victor Aloko, Director of Publicity and Voter Education in INEC, is a very critical position he has there. Experts are saying that the high concentration of political power and the winner-take-all mentality of the politicians around elections, contribute to this hate speech. Do you agree that hate speech does not only rear its ugly head during elections and it has been there for a while now?
Well, hate speech has been there for a while. The elections only come periodically. We have situations where people have used words they should not use in this country. We have situations where people have moved others to violence and to do vile things. During the period of elections, it assumes a crescendo. It assumes a higher tempo. And soon, the elections will come. And what I just want to say is to encourage the candidates and the political parties to rein in their supporters, to rein in their what I call attack teams. I will try to let them know that it's not a do or die affair. It should not be. By the time we come to the elections, there's something critical. People are not being educated about how their candidates will win. There are some people who are just expecting that once your candidate goes into a contest, he will just win. People need to know, political parties need to educate their supporters about the modalities for achieving victory. We know that for executive positions, there are particular thresholds you must cross before you can win. For legislative positions, you must score like the highest votes before you win. It is good for supporters to know that if your candidate does not meet such criteria, your candidate will not win. And if your candidate does not win, it's not a do or die affair. You wait for another time. Another time will always come. For example, when we talk about governorship elections, you know that you have to win. You have to win 1/4 of the votes, 20%, in 2/3 of the state. The same thing for the presidency. You must win 1/4 of the votes in 2/3 of the country, in 2/3 of all the states of the country. So if your candidate will not meet that criteria, then there's no need to engage in any form of hate speech during that period of elections. Because the period of elections, the period of voting, the period of declaration of results are going to be very, very tense periods. It's always like that in any country. When people are waiting for election results, people are waiting for declarations, people are tensed up, that's when you start hearing all sorts of things. There's need for the political parties and their candidates to educate their people about what what they will have to score to win. And if they don't score what they need to score, they will not win. As simple as that. That's the area I'm trying to go into now. That electoral education should not be left only to Noah. It should not be left only to the media. The political parties themselves, the candidates themselves should also let their supporters, their members know the threshold you need to cross before you can be declared winner. Once you know that, and your candidate does not meet it, you just, leave the rest to God.
Indeed. We have another caller, Adetunji from Osogbo. You're on.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. I want to commend our speaker inside the studio there. God bless you all. For what one of our speakers said before, I've been listening to this program since 1 hour ago. With what our speaker said now, one of our speakers inside the studio there said the lack of job employment, it can cause all these kind of things that is happening in Nigeria. And when I want to ask the man inside the house there, can you look into what the man said now, that the unemployment in Nigeria can cause all this? If someone doesn't have anything doing, they will be doing certain things like this. So our government should look into that. God bless Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Adetunji from Osogbo, for your contribution. Let me bring in Alesta now. Compared to the rest of the world, based on a survey, the average Nigerian spends 4 hours daily on the social media. And social media watchers are saying, well, it is logical for these politicians to take their campaigns to where people are. That is the virtual world. What's your take? Can you unmute your audio, please?
Okay. Sorry, I think I was muted. Thank you. I think it should be more than 4 hours, because if you see the average Nigerian, average youth on the streets, he's always pressing his phone. And they are not doing anything. They're going to either IG, Instagram, or Twitter, and just to read what makes them happy. Well, we saw the evil of fake news or social media in the last American election, and for the first time, American seat of power, which is the capital, was attacked. And the result, that was just the effect of what Trump and his cohorts were dishing out as to how the election, they believe it was rigged and stolen from them. And I tell you, that's a pointer to the fact that today in Nigeria, that is a reality, that is what can happen. Because as a matter of fact, with the way people are going about this campaign or this election this year, everybody just feel, especially the youths, feel that whatever candidate they are propping up must win because it is their turn. And because they are angry and they well, sometimes right, sometimes misguided, so they just feel their candidate must win at all costs. And of course, what happened in America, in the US, should be a pointer to the fact that it's nothing may occur. And of course, I'm happy that the man from the INEC officials in the studio has said it. And I don't know how many times this has been spoken by INEC to the people that are contesting this election. Well, the politicians will always, the political parties, they've never reeled in their supporters. It has never happened, because that is their tool, that is their hand, that is their arm and their leg that they will use to cause as much mayhem and to make sure that they either get in through crook or through whatever means. And if we keep saying that it's not a do or die affair, then we are making a mistake. General Obasanjo declared a do or die, and if you know the amount of investment that politicians put in terms of monetary investment that they put in to the process, then you should know that it's a do or die. So we need to look at it holistically, our electoral processes. This monetization, the huge amount of resources that is involved, it makes it a do or die. Nobody wants to throw in that kind of money if he doesn't have the belief that he can win, either through crook, whatever means that they will win it. So it has become a do or die already. And anyway, and the civil societies, and leave the political parties, they will not do it. I mean, let's not diffuse ourselves. They will not do it. It takes the extra government agencies like the NOA or like the INEC to really pass these messages down. Sometimes these messages end up at seminars to the same people that will not cascade it down, which is the politicians. When you go to sign peace accord, it is still between the politicians. When you go to discuss with the candidates or have meetings with it's still with the politicians, and they will never pass it down because they need these foot soldiers, they need these third forces to help them in their campaign, in their wish to win power. So it now takes you, the INEC and the NOA and other agencies that are responsible, social civil societies, to now pass this message clearly, not just on the face of newspaper, not just on TV, but right down to the street. As a matter of fact, when my brother from NOA was talking about, he just remembered me that I was a Mamsa Brigade. I was part of the Mamsa Brigade in 1986 when it was in 1986, when it was launched. I was part of the Mamsa Brigade, and that reminiscence my memory once again. I mean, when I think that is what even increased my patriotism in this country and my love for this country. That has all gone. That is all gone. And today the NOA is like a shadow of itself. Mamsa, people still remember Mamsa for the great work they did. I can still name 21 directors of MAMSA when it was launched, when we had the 21 states. I can still name the 21 state directors of MAMSA as I sit here because they registered in my head and they all do the work as they are supposed to do the work. And Nigerians saw the need to be disciplined, to be straight, and to love their country. Again, that is an offshoot of war against indiscipline. We remember the war against indiscipline, the one that was launched by the Buhari Jaguar regime. And then the MAMSA came in to replace that. So these are some of the interventions that have gone in. And like he said, then society was not this technical. The youths then were more disciplined. We are more disciplined youth. We are more forward-looking youth. We are more calmer youth.
Yes.
But today the dynamics have changed, and so the game need to be upped up. I don't mind doing a free work for NOA. I really feel that they are not doing enough. I can volunteer to be a free work. Don't pay me. Just let me do a free work in whatever your programs you are going to do. Because we need to get this country back. We need to retune our youth's mind. We need to get back our country. Today, what are everybody talking about? Japa, they all want to leave. Even when you start to tell them where you are going can be worse than where you are coming from, they don't want to listen. Or they believe that Nigeria is a hell. Nigeria has no future. Nigeria has no this. And when in Nigeria you enjoy the most basic things, in fact, you just so many free things than where you want to jackpot to. So anyway, you have a lot of job to do. I can be a volunteer free of charge. Don't pay me a dime because I love this country and I want this country to be better.
Lester, you're selling yourself there.
I'm not offering myself a job. I'm offering myself a house.
The love of Nigeria is deeply, in your heart. Let's bring in Dr.
It's too deep. It's
Yes.
too deep for what is happening today. It's damn too deep for what is going on today. And I feel so every day I wake up and I have to interact with people. This evening before this program, I've had a 2-hour argument in the chemistry where I want to buy some, try to educate people as to the wrong impression they have about the country. And I tell you, it's all this thing. But I'm happy that once in a while I get 1 or 2 successes. My love for this country is too deep, and I think we need to do something about it.
Indeed, Alesta. Let's bring in Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu. The role of players in this election actually cannot be overemphasized, especially the security agencies, because the buck practically stops on your table. Without the security agencies, the election cannot take place. You're in worry now, and I'm sure you're having a lot of discussions on the oncoming election 2023. Dr. Ojukwu, tell us, what are the security agencies doing to ensure a smooth, free and fair elections? The vote of hate.
There are actually many players in the electoral process. You have the INEC, which is the umpire. You have political parties, the candidates themselves. You have the civil society. You have the media, Nigerian citizens, judiciary, and of course, the security agencies. Police being the leader in the process of securing the electoral process before, during, and after. A lot of work has been done by Nigerian police in that regard, being the lead agency. But the police cannot do it alone because the areas of polling are so spread that the police alone cannot cover the ground. So it needs the collaboration, and the law allows the police to cut other players, other actors in the security subsector to help her to man the elections before, during, and after. And that is being done. We are right now in Owerri, where the police is fine-tuning its strategy. It's a retreat, getting its strategies on how to make the 2023 election better than Ekiti, better than Osun, better than Anambra also. So the police is upping the ante. A lot of work has been done, a lot of talks have been held, a lot more will be held in the next few days. And thereafter, the strategy will be rolled out across the length and breadth of Nigeria, because nobody covers Nigeria like the police. In over 7,000 locations, the largest strength you have about manpower. A lot of work is being done to change the orientation. People cannot perform except they are properly trained. The police has done a lot of training of its personnel on what is expected of them, what the Electoral Act expects of them, what Nigerians expect of them as the election, before the elections, during the elections, and the days and years thereafter. Because after election, you now have to police democracy. Election is the doorway to democracy. If you don't get it right in the election, our democratic experiments will have question mark, and we'll be having issues in that democracy. So the police is the lens by which democracy is assessed, entered, and then assessed. So a lot of work is being done in terms of training, orientation, and interagency collaboration.
Okay, Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, he's the Provost Police Public Relations School, Lafia. He is also a retired Commissioner of Police. He joined us via Zoom from Owerri. Thank you so much for your contribution. Mr. Alistair Wilcox is a public affairs analyst and a passionate Nigerian. He loves Nigeria to the depth of his heart. As we begin, thank you so much for coming on Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure. It's only NTA that can keep me awake up till this time of the morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Indeed, Alistair. Thank you so much. On the final note, we have less than 3 minutes. Let me have your final thoughts on how we can get a free, fair, and credible elections come 2023 without hate.
Let all stakeholders do what they are supposed to do, and do them the way the Electoral Act, the Constitution, the regulations and of the Commission says things should be done. That's the way we should do. If we do what we should do, we'll get the results we should get. All human beings are good. We can do the right things, and once there are people who deviate from the right path, we should immediately isolate them and punish them. And those the laws are for. Anyone who engages in hate speech during campaigns, the police should arrest them, the police should sanction them. That's the way to go. Once we do that, the others will know that hate speech during campaigns will not be tolerated. We have a good country. Let's do the right thing, and the results will be good.
Mr. David?
I would say that we need a country that is functional, peaceful, and that can accommodate all our aspirations. And all of us have a responsibility to build such a country. It's a responsibility that we must not cede to any group of people. Elections will come and go. Nigeria will remain. And Nigeria is the only country that we have. So let us be patriotic and let's love our country.
Message from the National Education Agency there. Mr. Victor Alako, Director of Publicity and Voter Education, INEC, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your insightful contribution to the topic. And David Akoji, Deputy Director and Head of Strategic Communication and SA to DG National Orientation Agency, Anyway, it's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you so much for having us.
Remember, we have only one Nigeria. I love my country. I hate to use this cliche that this is the only home we have, but we must use it. There's no place like Nigeria. I remain Jumbo Yusuf. Good night and do take care.